Did someone tell you that a one-ply cotton piece of cloth could provide you protection in a respiratory tract infection pandemic? Did you believe that? Are you a complete moron? If so, that's on you. Cry to your mama, and blame your daddy, if you even know who he or she is. If, after 3 years, evolutionary pressure has been insufficient to disabuse you of the notion that there is no distinction with a difference between the bandana you purchased at a discount store and the spacesuit the astronauts wore, there is a reason you never received a call from NASA, and, if you believe in the science and follow the science, then please sing us all a song about your dinosaur friends with whom you belong. By grace, by dumb luck, by divine providence, or whatever, somehow you managed to survive, where almost 7 million did not, despite your total lack of preparation for the pandemic science test. And, as a special consolation prize, for the next few minutes, let's just try to help you to understand why your quote-unquote mask would not work the way it did in your head, and apparently the heads of the public school systems in Arlington, Fairfax, Falls Church, Hampton, Prince William County and Richmond, all of which actually went to court, in January 2022, retaining a Harvard-trained attorney, John Kafferke, to defend you and your rights under the Virginia Constitution to try to protect yourself in a pandemic with a non-medical grade facial covering, stomp, foot, non-medical grade facial covering, not technically even a mask. Yes, somebody may have lied to you, or you may not have been smart enough to ask. Whatever, your quote-unquote mask had been definitively determined not to be effective respiratory protection by the NIOSH in the Obama administration over a decade ago, and, Einstein of respiratory protection, obviously you did not quite get the memo. Everyone who says they are praying for you aren't really praying for you, and John Kafferke, and his Harvard law degree, may sound impressive, on first glance, to a sucker ready to be suckered, and if you are ever invited to a poker game and don't know who the sucker is, it is probably you. But, you look like an intelligent person, and first of all, you always have to peek under the veneer, and it is not exactly going for the best when your Harvard-trained attorney is not even working in a corner office in a large international law firm in New York, Los Angeles and DC. Like they tell you in the song, Jughead, don't believe the hype. It takes a little time for a chump to understand the bully really only likes you because you don't put up too much of a fight when he steals your lunch, but let's try to go through every reason why that quote-unquote mask they told you would save your life was not exactly a hallmark sending a message that they love you. Did they give it to you, like the vaccines, or did they make you go out of pocket and buy it for yourself? I know, you could choose your favorite colors and designs, but remember Cousin Vinny, do you think a deadly virus is going to care what kind of pants you are wearing? Try to keep your head in the game, football hero. Where to begin? First, just read the order in Virginia published by the governor. Did it say you were wearing a mask or a non-medical grade facial covering? Hint. It did not say you were wearing a mask, and you are masquerading as Madame Curie in a pandemic? You take a lot of science tests in high school after blowing off the reading and the homework. It's amazing you're not working at the Mayo Clinic. Second, a medical-grade protective device, like an N95, is hydrophobic. No. It doesn't have rabies, if your vocabulary is expansive enough to understand that reference. Have you been online, dating, looking for a partner in crime, and seeking someone with chemistry? Well, think hydro, like hydrogen and water, and, if you are trying to meet chicks online, you already know about phobia. Do the math. Now, if some bully were to snatch your baklava and throw it in the ocean, would you have to wait for it to dry off after you risked your life, battling sharks to retrieve it? You know why, badass? Because it is not hydrophobic, but rather is hydrophilic. Think like feelings, like the feelings you don't want to get hurt. You got simpatico with your quote-unquote mask. Okay, so, you have some challenges in advanced vocabulary, and the distinction between hydrophobic and hydrophilic is something novel for you, like the novel virus was over 3 years ago, but, on the bright side, did it kill you? So, you're ahead of the game, so far. And, Apparently you missed a big memo about 10 years ago in the Obama administration that had used the best diagnostic equipment we have available to prove the mask somebody told you to wear in a pandemic would not work, which doesn't sound like whoever told you to wear that mask in a pandemic is your bestie, but it's your body and your choice. Love isn't always a bed of romance and roses. What do you think, however, especially when it comes to this school court case in January 2022, the year after the CDC had published an entire scientific brief on the latest evolving science for COVID-19, this lawsuit, defending your rights to wear something that wouldn't work to protect you from the flu, is not exactly a love letter, unless you have visions of sugar plums dancing in your head, seeing the invisible, feeling the intangible, expecting the impossible and looking for a miracle. What do you think? Although it should have been obvious by February 2020, on May 7, 2021, the CDC conceded that the primary means of transmission for COVID-19 was not by droplets but by aerosols that can persist in the air for hours, and have not a lot to do with anyone coughing, sneezing, shouting or even singing, and that virus could even exist in the empty elevator you locked yourself inside all by yourself. And, you probably did not know, but an N95, which you are not even permitted by law to wear in Virginia, is only effective against tear gas for about an hour, and there you are, but naked and waiting to die in a fight against a virus that isn't as stupid as you. What do you think? Need some alone time? Need a hug? Need a hanky? Aren't independent folks supposed to already have that stuff front-loaded? Then maybe somebody sold you that idea and it didn't go the way it went in your head. What can I say, buddy? Good luck in senior year. What do you think? From this brief encounter, the feeling that you didn't read much science in high school, college or even in a pandemic is pretty clear. So, do you wanna know a secret? Some good intel. At least those of us getting emails from the, CIA and the Illuminati know, and you can't forget those aliens, buddy. You, my lucky friend, are fighting an invisible enemy, and it is just lurking outside somewhere waiting to take you down in a surprise attack, and you cannot defend against an adversary that you cannot see. There is a classical allusion here about Odysseus and Polyphemus, who was the Cyclops and Poseidon's son, but you probably did not read that story in high school. Now, Dr. Albert Schweitzer and Florence Nightingale combined to save the world in a pandemic. Doing your part. Do you even know how many of these particles have to get in your nose or mouth to catch COVID-19? Would you believe that the CDC says they know just as much as you on that, and claim they don't know yet, after 3 years? As long as you are comfortable with that and feel assured everything is a-okay, I would not want to disturb your relationship with your primary care physician. But most people, like yourself, see the quote-unquote mask as an extra layer of protection, and think of some football game where you have a quarterback and some blockers on the scrimmage line at the big game. Everyone knows the N95 is quality medical protection, but you may not know that it is called an N95 because it helps to filter out 95% of microbial particles, measured in nanoparticle units, called microns, but they are only effective against microbial particles that are 0.3 microns or larger. You know that virus that could have been hiding in the elevator you locked yourself in? Well, it isn't stupid, and maybe contacted the folks who make the N95, had its folks in R&D go to work and enable it to deploy some particles that are only 0.25 microns, small enough to slip right through the filters in the respirator for an N95, catching you, again, with your pants down, in a breakthrough infection. And if a virus is always a step ahead of you, I hate to tell you, buddy, but your future in pandemics has an expiration date.
This message was approved by Major Mike Webb. Honest.